Hello, Soyeon. It's
Hello.
it's nice to see you again.
Yeah,
Uh,
다시 다시 하자.
how are you? How was your life?
I'm good. London has been very hot for last 1 week. What last 1 2 weeks? And how's the weather there? I heard from a lot of my Korean friends that the weather have been very. It just has been crazy.
Uh, y- yeah, it's quite very humid and very hot these days, but I'm okay, man. But the important thing is that the climate is changing in here. So, like it's very weird. It's very sometimes it's very cold and hot and very humid and it's a very strange weather that we have never experienced before. But I also heard that there will be very historical typhoon soon in
Mm.
in July. So we are very excited for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to be excited of the of this crazy storm coming in summer. Yeah, it's the same in UK. Like we had a heat wave earlier than last year, and a lot of people, UK especially, we don't have air conditioner like Korea, so there has been a lot of people like fainting on the street, or already the tube in London has been very hot inside.
Yeah. I also been London's, but even though I love London's weathers, but I heard that London's weathers uh is crazy these days anyway. So climate change is framed to be the cause of the irregular weathers uh, and the extreme temperatures. But what exactly is climate change? In this episode, we want to explore the science of climate change. And could you tell me about the definition of the climate change first?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we are going to talk about climate change for the next whole episodes. But first of all, we have to know what is climate change. So, explaining about the climate change, we can't talk without this organization. We just call it IPCC, and the full name is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So, it's a United Nations body for assessing the science related to climate change. So it has played an enormous role in alerting like nations, individuals, like everybody started to pay attention to the rise of the global temperature because of the work of the IPCC. So this organization has been publishing reports regularly. We call it like assessment reports and sometimes special reports. And one of the famous publications they made is the IPCC special report on the impacts of global warming of 1.5 degree. So anyway, this IPCC has been contributing a lot on the world of the world to take climate actions immediately. So according to this organizations, IPCC define climate change as a change in the state of the climate that can be identified by changes in a mean of its wait, I'll do it again. So the IPCC defines climate change as a change in the state of the climate change, which lasts for an extended period of time. So this differs from the weather in this point.
So it sounds like very important organizations, and they define the climate change as a like a vulnerability of the climate caused by human beings, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, it's like IPCC. I heard there's more than 30,000 scientists participating the IPCC itself, right?
Yeah, it has been providing like scientific evidence for all the climate policies being made, work on the research related to climate change, and then come up with the consolidated result.
I also remember that the IPCC annual report 6 was very pessimistic about the
Mm.
how our society will be if we reach the 1.5 Celsius degrees. Uh, uh, and could you tell me what does 1.5 Celsius degree is? Because like a lot of news and media is talking about the 1.5 Celsius degrees. I think a lot of people couldn't understand what it is.
Yeah, so 1.5 degree, it refers to the global temperature rise. So according to IPCC, it says if the global temperature rise 1.5 degree since the pre-industrial level in the near term, which is going to be happening in a high probability, it's going to cause like the loss of the coast, the loss of the marine biodiversity by 90%, and it's going to cause the losses to the humans' resources irreversibly, which means it will never be humanity will never be able to go back to the state that it originally was.
So that means we can't go back, right? Once
Yeah.
once we pass the 1.5 Celsius degree, right? It's about a lot of dimensions of the ecosystems. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, all of the nature systems are having a very
Mm-hmm.
similar tipping point or not, but they are connected to each other. So once one point of the ecosystem collapse, the other factors and the other parts of the nature system will be influenced by the collapse of the other parts. So it could be, I say, it could be worse than we think.
That I think that's a great point because climate change is an international issue which affects the nations without the national boundary. That's why the UN Climate Change Organization, called UNFCCC, have come up with the Paris Agreement, which limits the global temperature to 1.5 degree and well below 2 degrees. So this is like very commonly quoted phrase when you talk about climate change. So I'm glad that we had a chance to talk about this. So I can briefly talk about so what would exactly happens if the Earth's temperatures increase by 1.5 degree. So simply speaking, I'm not in from the scientist background, but just simply imagine that the temperature of the Earth went up and it caused just that extreme weather pattern and unexpected extreme like hurricanes comes more often and the wildfires goes on and ecosystem just disrupts and and in the end like human are in oh sorry yeah so but I'm not a scientist, but simply speaking, the Earth's temperatures goes up and the ice, which basically cools down the Earth's temperatures, it starts to melt down. So consequently, if the ice melts down, then the level of sea water which goes up, and if the amount of seawater in the earth increase, then the land start to absorb the seawater into their land. In science, so the scientists call this phenomenon as a saltwater intrusion, which means like if you want to grow our crops or if we want any kind of food supply that we can eat, the the proportion of the soil have to be in a certain range of the balance of the salt water and other minerals. But because of the climate change, the proportion of the seawater, which is which sea, So the proportion of the seawater would increase, and as a result, it would significantly drop the it would significantly drop the food productions
Okay.
um and threaten the human society. I mean, especially this is terrifying news for me because I'm from the coastal city called Busan, which is a southern city in Korea. And coastal city is going to be the first types of city that would be affected by the climate change. As the sea level goes up, we will have less land to live, and the amount of food that is originally being produced in the land would also decrease.
Okay. It sounds like, mm, yeah, very, very terrifying. But I, why people like can't understand. I mean, the why people don't talk too much about this phenomenon. It's like it sounds so terrifying. And the impact of the climate change, the foliage change, and but my point is, it's hard to connect the dot to people like us. I mean, can you elaborate on how climate change affects individuals and the society as a whole?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, whenever I talk about climate change to the people I know, to my friends or family, they also feel the same. They always say climate change, it looks like no climate change for them, it feels like it's like a sci-fi. It's very future looking, and they can't connect themselves with the climate change. However, climate change has already begun to like impact various aspects of our lives. I mean, as I mentioned before, like one notable area of the effect would be the food supply. For example, used to have Korea used to have a strawberry in the winter time, but actually the period of where this strawberry, one notable area is affect is food supply. For example, I recently watched the news and it says like because of the hot and dry weather in the United States, there has been overabundant grasshoppers. So if you watch that video, like there's like thousands of like hundreds of grasshoppers like covering the houses and the fields. Um, this is concerning because grasshoppers they eat up all the crops in the field, which means like United States takes an important role in the corn supply or any like basic wheat supply, but because of the consequence of too much grasshopper, now definitely the the harvested crops would reduce. And furthermore, like climate change, I think it's climate change is terrifying because it's not just a simple environmental problem. It's related to social issues as well. One other example would be extreme weather events. So there are more hurricanes and flooding coming often to us, but which means like more social infrastructure would be damaged and many people would lose their properties because of the hurricanes, floodings, or other types of like extreme weather events. And in some point, like some people would lose their houses, which means there will be more communities, there will be more cities that have to like move to another safe area, which has less frequent extreme weather events. So, but so according to the IPCC's sixth assessment report, which was released this year March, it has actually it specifically explains that climate change worsens the social inequalities in the vulnerable group. This links to the gender equality. There's more high chance for the women and like young children to be vulnerable to the climate change effect. And the more vulnerable they are, they will have a less resilient to go back to their original life. So I think I've been talking to seriously Jinsu. Um, there are many ways to for as an individual and as a member of the social community to respond to take a climate action. And one of the action we take in this carbon bubble is to study and to raise the awareness of the climate change.
Yeah, I mean, like knowing about the urgency of the climate change is very important because we can vote, you know, vote for climate change uh, to pick up the very important politicians and the policy for our climate change and climate. And I think you point out a very good important part of the climate change. I think inequality issue is very important, especially in my perspective. Like climate change destroyed a lot of weak point of our global society, and is and it's like for example, some developing country need a lot of infrastructures, and but the climate impact usually uh, is very destructive to their initial step for the developing country. So, uh, for example, if they don't have any bridge or like very strong uh, like dam or like something like that, or like renewable energy, it is it make them much more harder to uh, make it happen. I mean, so it is also very bad for their economic growth, and also for women and the childrens, and it is the issue that we have been improving for many decades, and it is sad that we will fail to make it better as before. Could you summarize our episode?
Yeah. So So this episode was about to explain the science of climate change, and in the next episode, we'll be talking about the carbon market, which instruments the markets-based approach to cost efficiently reduce the cost of greenhouse gas emissions.
Oh, so yeah, and actually, next episode is about the economics of
Ah,
change and
那些
there we, there we go. Next episode. No, I like this part. Anyway, about the voluntary carbon black.
next episode. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Soyas. Anyway, if you have any questions and comments on our episode, please, we have we have Instagram and the Twitters, and YouTube. You can add any comments, and it could be very, very helpful if you. Thank you so much, and have a good day. See you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.